The massive alien ship appeared on a quiet Tuesday morning, its silver hull gleaming in the sunlight as it descended through Earth's atmosphere. The world watched in stunned silence as the vessel, nearly 3 miles long, came to hover above New York's United Nations building. Ambassador Thomas Reed stood at the UN Plaza, his heart pounding but his face showing nothing but calm. At 55 years old, with gray hair and steady blue eyes, he had handled countless difficult negotiations, but nothing had prepared him for this moment, humanity's first contact with alien life. "Remember," General White muttered beside him, "we represent all of Earth today." The alien ship's lower section opened smoothly, revealing a bright blue light. 3 tall figures floated down on platforms of pure energy. They were humanoid but clearly alien. Their skin had a metallic sheen, and their eyes were large and completely black. The tallest alien stepped forward. Its translator device hummed to life. "We represent the Galactic Council, governing body of the civilized species of this galaxy." The voice was flat and mechanical. "We have come to evaluate Earth's readiness for inclusion in our confederation." Reed stepped forward, bowing slightly. "Earth welcomes the Galactic Council. We look forward to peaceful dialogue and cultural exchange." The aliens exchanged looks that seemed almost amused. The lead alien spoke again. "Your species is young. We have observed your development. Your technology is primitive by our standards." Reed felt his jaw tighten, but kept his diplomatic smile. "We may surprise you. Humanity has made great strides in recent decades." The aliens insisted on holding the meeting inside their ship. Reed and his team of 5 diplomats followed them up the energy platforms. The interior of the ship was a maze of flowing metal and pulsing lights. They were led to a circular room where images of distant worlds floated in the air. "These are some of our member worlds," the lead alien explained, waving a long-fingered hand at the displays. "All have accepted our guidance and protection. All have prospered under Council rule." Reed noted the word choice. "Rule, not cooperation." "We have reviewed your internet broadcasts," another alien spoke. "Your wars, your pollution, your political divisions. You require supervision." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Reed straightened his back. "Earth is working to solve its problems. We welcome friendship with the Council, but we are capable of managing our own affairs." The lead alien's black eyes narrowed. "Perhaps we are not being clear. The Council does not offer membership. We offer protection. Those who refuse our protection are deemed unstable elements in the galaxy." "Are you threatening Earth?" Reed asked quietly. "Threatening? No. We are explaining reality. Your species will join the Council as a protectorate or face the consequences of isolation. No trade, no technology, no contact with civilized worlds." Reed looked at the floating images again. The member worlds looked peaceful, but there was something wrong. They all had the same architecture, the same ordered patterns. They looked controlled. "Earth respectfully declines to become a protectorate," Reed said firmly. "We are happy to join the Council as equals, to learn and share knowledge. But we will not submit to rule by another species." The alien's metallic skin rippled in what seemed like anger. "You do not understand your position, human. Your world is primitive. Your defenses are negligible. Your technology is centuries behind the galactic standard. The Council's offer of protection is generous." Reed smiled, but his eyes were hard. "Perhaps you don't understand our position. Humanity has faced challenges before. We have overcome every obstacle in our path. We will not surrender our independence, no matter the consequence." The lead alien's voice turned cold. "Then you leave us no choice. We will demonstrate why the Council's protection is not optional. Your Mars colonies will serve as an example." As Reed and his team were escorted back to Earth, he knew humanity had just entered its greatest challenge. But looking at the controlled, sterile perfection of the alien ship, he also knew that humanity's messy, creative, determined spirit would never accept such a fate. The first shots in an interstellar conflict had just been fired, not with weapons, but with words. And Earth would not go quietly into submission. 3 days after the failed negotiations, Mars burned. The Galactic Council ships appeared without warning, their weapons turning the red planet's largest colony dome into broken glass and twisted metal. 300 colonists, scientists, farmers, and their families never had a chance to escape. On Earth, Admiral James Walker stood in the Pentagon's command center, his fists clenched as he watched the destruction through the Mars observation satellites. At 48, with weathered features and sharp gray eyes, he had seen his share of conflicts. But this was different. This was slaughter. They didn't even demand surrender, he growled. The room full of military leaders from around the world watched in horrified silence. They just opened fire on civilians. The main screen showed the council ships, sleek silver crafts that moved with impossible grace. Their energy weapons cut through the colony's defenses like they weren't even there. The Mars Defense Force's missiles didn't even reach their targets, dissolving against invisible shields. "Our best weapons are useless," General White said, his face pale. "Those shields, we have nothing that can penetrate them." Walker turned to face the assembled leaders. "No, we're just fighting the wrong way." He walked to the center display and pulled up data from the attack. "Look here, their ships are perfect, too perfect. Everything is high-tech energy weapons and force fields. When was the last time they faced something primitive?" The Chinese admiral leaned forward. "What are you suggesting?" "They've forgotten the basics," Walker said, a glint in his eye. "They're so advanced, they've abandoned simple solutions. Their shields stop energy weapons and high-speed projectiles. But what about old-fashioned radio waves? Simple electromagnetic pulses. Sometimes the oldest weapons are the best." The room burst into discussion. The Russian general pulled up old Cold War weapon designs. The Indian commander suggested modifications to their communication satellites. Ideas began flowing. Then the council's message arrived. The alien leader's cold voice filled the room. "The demonstration on Mars shows our power. You have 24 hours to accept our protection, or we will expand our operations to Earth itself. Your primitive weapons cannot harm us. Resistance is futile." Walker smiled grimly. "They think we're beaten. Good." He turned to the room. "I have a plan, but we'll need every nation working together. No more borders, no more military secrets. Either we all survive, or none of us do." The next 18 hours were a blur of activity. While politicians publicly debated surrender, the world's military forces moved with secret purpose. Old weapons were pulled from storage. Satellites were quietly modified. Underground bases hummed with activity. Walker stood in a hidden facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching teams of engineers work on equipment that hadn't seen use in 50 years. "How long until the modifications are ready?" he asked Dr. Lisa Brown, the lead scientist. 6 hours, she replied, not looking up from her work. "These EMP devices weren't designed for this, but the principles are sound, if you're right about their vulnerabilities. They've built their entire civilization on advanced technology," Walker said. "They've forgotten that sometimes the simplest solution is the best one. Their shields might stop a nuclear blast, but what about a basic electromagnetic pulse? What about radio waves that would have been outdated a century ago?" The hours ticked by. Around the world, military forces moved into position while pretending to prepare for surrender. Old hardware was loaded onto ships and planes. Satellites were repositioned under the excuse of maintenance. 23 hours after their ultimatum, the Council ships appeared in Earth's orbit. Their massive fleet darkened the sky, visible even in daylight. Their leader's voice boomed across all communications channels. "Your time has expired. We see no meaningful preparation for defense. You have chosen wisely to submit. Prepare for our arrival and integration into the Council's protection." Walker stood in the command center, now transferred to the underground facility. He looked at the screens showing the Council's fleet arranged in perfect, orderly formation. They were so confident, so certain of their superiority, that they hadn't even bothered to disperse their ships. He picked up his secure phone and spoke 5 words that would change the course of human history. Operation Trojan Horse is go. Deep beneath the mountains, in a facility unknown to the Council, Dr. Lisa Brown made a discovery that would change everything. "Admiral Walker," she called out, her voice echoing through the underground lab. "You need to see this." She pointed at her computer screen, where waves of data flowed past. The test results were clear and surprising. Walker rushed over, followed by his team of military experts. The screen showed readings from their latest scan of a piece of Council technology, a small communication device left behind during the negotiations. "Their systems," Dr. Brown explained, her eyes bright with excitement. "They're completely unshielded against low-tech signals. They never expected anyone to use such basic technology. It's like building a fortress with high walls, but leaving the back door wide open." Walker leaned closer to the screen. "Explain it simply, Doctor." "They protected themselves against advanced weapons, lasers, plasma, high-energy particles, but old-fashioned radio waves, simple electromagnetic pulses. Their ships have no defense against them. They thought these technologies were too primitive to be a threat." Around the world, similar discoveries were being made. In Russia, military scientists found that the Council's computers couldn't handle simple binary attacks. In Japan, engineers discovered that basic radio frequencies could scramble Council communications. The Council's arrogance had created a massive weakness. They had advanced so far that they'd forgotten the basics of warfare. "Their quantum computers are amazing," Dr. Brown continued, "but they're also delicate. Our old-style electronic systems are rough and simple, like using a stone axe against their fancy glass sword." Walker smiled. It was the first time he'd smiled since the Mars attack. "How fast can we adapt our old weapons?" "We already are," she replied, leading him through the lab. Hundreds of engineers worked on what looked like ancient technology. Cold War-era satellites were being modified. Simple radio transmitters were being turned into weapons. In another section of the facility, military strategist Mark Peters worked with his team on battle plans. "The Council expects us to either surrender or try to fight them with our best weapons," he explained to Walker. "They don't expect us to think differently." Peters pointed to a map showing the positions of Earth's satellites. "We've spent the last few days making our satellite network look broken. Old satellites appearing to drift out of position. Communication systems seemingly failing. The Council thinks we're falling apart." Walker nodded. "But each of those satellites is now a weapon," Peters finished. "Simple, crude, but effective. And completely invisible to their advanced scanning systems. They're looking for high-tech threats, not museum pieces." In orbit, Council ships watched Earth's apparent collapse with satisfaction. Their scans showed Earth's defensive systems going offline one by one. What they couldn't see was the truth. Each system wasn't dying, but changing. Back in the facility, Dr. Brown made another breakthrough. "Their shields," she announced. "They work by predicting incoming attacks and generating counter-frequencies, but they can only predict what they understand. Our old atomic clocks, running on simple electronics, they can't predict them at all." Walker gathered Earth's military leaders for a final briefing. The room was tense but hopeful. On screens around them, Earth's preparations continued. Old weapons were modified. Simple but effective plans were put in place. "The Council thinks they're watching us collapse," Walker said to the assembled leaders. "They see our satellites failing, our systems going dark. They think we're accepting defeat." He paused, looking at each person in the room. "But what they're really watching is humanity's greatest deception." Dr. Brown stepped forward. "All modified weapons are in place. Every satellite is ready. Our ground-based systems are prepared. We look helpless, but we've never been stronger." Peters added, "The Council ships are maintaining their tight formation. They're not even bothering to scatter their forces. Their arrogance is their weakness. Walker looked at the latest images from space. The Council's fleet hung above Earth like a swarm of silver birds, beautiful but deadly. They had no idea what was coming. "Send the final message," Walker ordered. "Tell the Council we're ready to discuss surrender terms." As the message was sent, he turned to Dr. Brown. "How long until all our systems are fully charged?" She checked her tablet. 2 hours. Then Operation Trojan Horse can begin. Walker nodded. 2 hours until we show the galaxy why you should never underestimate human ingenuity. The Council's massive fleet filled Earth's skies like a silver cloud. 5,000 ships, each one bigger than the largest human aircraft carrier, moved into perfect formation above the planet. Their arrival was meant to show power. Instead, it would prove to be their greatest mistake. In the underground command center, Admiral Walker watched the enemy fleet through the facility's hidden cameras. The Council ships arranged themselves in a tight, circular pattern, exactly as Earth's military leaders had hoped they would. "Such perfect order," Walker said quietly. "Such discipline, and such a terrible mistake." The Council's Supreme Commander appeared on all of Earth's communication channels. Its black eyes showed no emotion as it spoke. "Your surrender will now be accepted. We see that your primitive defense systems have mostly failed. This is wise of you." Walker pressed a button, opening a channel to the alien fleet. "This is Admiral James Walker of Earth. We request 1 hour to gather Earth's leaders for the surrender ceremony." The alien commander's lips curled in what might have been a smile. "Granted. Your cooperation will be noted. Perhaps some of your species will be allowed leadership roles under our protection." As the transmission ended, Dr. Lisa Brown rushed into the command center. "Admiral, they've taken the bait. Look at their formation." The main screen showed a detailed scan of the Council fleet. The alien ships had arranged themselves in concentric circles, their energy shields overlapping to create what they thought was an impenetrable defense. "Their arrogance is unbelievable," Mark Peters said, studying the tactical display. "They're so sure of their superiority that they've clustered their entire fleet together. They want us to see their unity, their power." Walker nodded. "And that's exactly why they'll fail." Status of Operation Trojan Horse. "All systems ready," Dr. Brown reported. "Every satellite is in position. Ground-based systems are charged. They still think our satellites are malfunctioning. They haven't noticed the modifications." The minutes ticked by. Around the world, people watched the alien fleet with fear and awe. They didn't know that inside seemingly abandoned military bases and hidden bunkers, Earth's true defense was ready. 40 minutes into the promised hour, the Council commander transmitted again. "We grow impatient. Perhaps a small demonstration of power will speed your surrender." One of the Council ships fired an energy beam at an empty area of the Pacific Ocean. The water exploded into steam, leaving a mile-wide circle of boiling sea. "Impressive," Walker said into the comm. "We are nearly ready. Our leaders are gathering in New York. Just 20 more minutes, please." In the command center, Peters whispered, "They're actually moving more ships into formation. They want to make their display of power even more impressive." "Status of enemy shields?" Walker asked. Dr. Brown checked her readings. "All their ships are running their shields at full power. They're using enormous amounts of energy to maintain that perfect formation. Their systems are completely focused on stopping high-tech attacks." Walker looked at the clock. Time to show them what primitive humans can do. He picked up his secure phone and spoke to all Earth's hidden military bases. "This is Admiral Walker. Operation Trojan Horse is now active. All units, execute on my mark." Around the world, modified satellites slowly turned toward the Council fleet. Ground-based transmitters powered up. Old radar stations, converted into weapons, hummed to life. The Council commander's voice came again. 10 minutes remaining in your granted hour. Prepare to." The transmission cut off as the Council's sensors detected something. But it was already too late. "What is this?" the alien commander demanded. "We detect energy signatures from your failed satellites. Are you attempting some kind of primitive attack?" Walker smiled. "You could say that." He pressed the final button. Now, in orbit, thousands of supposedly dead satellites suddenly lit up. On the ground, countless hidden transmitters activated. The air itself seemed to buzz with energy, but not the kind the Council was prepared for. The alien commander's voice turned urgent. "These signals, they're so basic, so crude. Surely you don't think." Their transmission cut off mid-sentence as Operation Trojan Horse began. The Council had prepared for humanity's most advanced weapons. Instead, they were about to face its oldest, and they weren't ready at all. The first wave of Earth's attack was invisible. No explosions, no energy beams, no missiles. Just thousands of simple radio waves and electromagnetic pulses, flooding space with frequencies the Council hadn't used in thousands of years. In the command center, Admiral Walker watched as the first Council ships began to fail. "Their shields are dropping," Dr. Brown shouted, her eyes fixed on the readings. "The simple radio waves are passing right through their advanced defenses. They never programmed their shields to stop something so basic." On the main screen, the magnificent Council fleet started to show signs of distress. Ship after ship lost power as the primitive electromagnetic pulses overwhelmed their delicate systems. Their perfect formation began to break apart. The Council commander's voice crackled through the static. What is this primitive technology? Our shields, they're not responding." Walker opened the communication channel. "You forgot the basics," he said calmly. "You built your walls so high, you never thought to look down." Across Earth's surface, more weapons activated. Old radar stations, converted into powerful transmitters, sent waves of disrupting signals into space. Cold War satellites, modified with simple but effective weapons, targeted the Council's communication systems. "Second wave, now," Walker ordered. Dr. Brown pressed a series of buttons. Around the world, hidden missile silos opened. But these weren't modern missiles. They were old designs, updated with one crucial modification. "Launch," Walker commanded. Hundreds of missiles rose from Earth. The Council ships, their systems struggling against the electromagnetic attack, still managed to laugh. "Primitive rockets," the Council commander sneered through the static. "Our shields can." The commander stopped mid-sentence as the missiles split open in space. Instead of warheads, they released clouds of simple metal particles, millions of tiny pieces of copper and aluminum, spreading through space like clouds of metallic dust. "What are they doing?" the Council commander demanded. "This isn't a weapon. This is." But it was a weapon. As the metal clouds drifted into the Council fleet, the ongoing electromagnetic pulses turned each tiny particle into a miniature conductor. Countless small electrical surges began shorting out the Council ships' exposed systems. "Status report," Walker called out. Peters checked his tactical display. 60% of their fleet is offline. Their fancy quantum computers can't handle the surge of simple electrical charges. They're shutting down to prevent complete system failure. In space, the mighty Council fleet was in chaos. Ships drifted helplessly, their crews unable to restore power. Their perfect formation was now a scattered mess of disabled vessels. The Council commander's voice returned, now showing real fear. "Stop this attack. You don't understand what you're doing. Our ship's containment fields are failing." "We understand exactly what we're doing," Walker replied. "Fourth wave, begin." This time, Earth's attack was visible. The modified satellites, which the Council had dismissed as space junk, revealed their hidden weapons. Simple laser arrays, powered by old-style nuclear batteries, began targeting the now unshielded Council ships. "Their hulls are tough," Dr. Brown reported, "but without shields, they're vulnerable to concentrated fire. We're not trying to destroy them, just disable their weapons and engines." The battle, if it could be called that, lasted less than an hour. By the end, the Council fleet hung motionless in space, most ships powerless and drifting. Their advanced technology, designed to stop the most sophisticated attacks, had been defeated by humanity's primitive weapons. Walker opened a channel to all Council ships. Your fleet is disabled. Your ships are at our mercy. Do you understand your position now? There was a long silence before the Council commander responded, its voice heavy with disbelief. How did primitives like you defeat our advanced technology? Because we're not primitive, Walker answered. We're practical. We remember our history, and we never, ever give up. He turned to his team. Send in our boarding ships, take control of their vessels, and send word to Earth's governments. Tell them Operation Trojan Horse was a success. As Earth's ships moved in to capture the Council fleet, Dr. Brown looked at the tactical display with pride. Sometimes, she said, the oldest tricks are the best ones. Walker nodded. They thought their technology made them invincible. Instead, it made them vulnerable. And now, he smiled, now we show them what humanity does next. 2 weeks after Earth's victory over the Council fleet, Admiral Walker stood on the bridge of humanity's first interstellar warship. The vessel, named Retaliation, had been built in secret using a combination of human and captured Council technology. Status report, Walker commanded, looking at the massive view screen showing the darkness of space ahead. All systems operational, Dr. Brown replied from her station. She had insisted on joining this mission, knowing that her understanding of Council technology would be crucial. The hybrid engines are working perfectly. Council tech for speed, human tech for reliability. Earth's counter-offensive was about to begin. Behind the Retaliation, 50 more hybrid ships waited in formation. Each one carried weapons that would make any Council world think twice about attacking Earth again. Fleet reports ready, Mark Peters announced from Tactical. All ships have the coordinates of the Council's main communication hub. They won't expect us to know where it is, let alone reach it. Walker nodded. Begin the jump sequence. The captured Council commander, now held in a cell on Earth, had revealed everything under questioning. The Council's arrogance had left them vulnerable. They had never bothered to hide their strategic locations, believing no primitive species could ever reach them. Space twisted around the Earth fleet as the hybrid drives activated. In a flash of light, they vanished from Earth's solar system. They reappeared near a massive space station orbiting a red giant star, the Council's main communication hub. The center of their galactic control network hung before them like a giant metal spider. They're detecting us, Peters reported. Their sensors are going crazy. They've never seen ships like ours before. Walker opened a channel to the station. This is Admiral James Walker of Earth. Your fleet tried to conquer us. They failed. Now we're here to reorganize the Council. The station's commander responded immediately, voice shaking with disbelief. This is impossible. Your species can't have mastered interstellar travel. You're primitives. Look at your screens, Walker replied calmly. Look at our ships. We took your technology and improved it, made it better, stronger, more practical. Indeed, Earth's hybrid ships were a sight to behold. They combined Council technology with human engineering, creating vessels that were both advanced and reliable. Where Council ships were all smooth surfaces and energy fields, Earth's ships bristled with both high-tech weapons and simple backup systems. The station is powering up its defenses, Peters warned. Let them, Walker said. Dr. Brown. Dr. Brown smiled. Ready, Admiral. Their systems are just as vulnerable as their fleets were. Same overconfidence, same weaknesses. Walker gave the order. Disable their shields. The old way. Earth's ships released clouds of simple electromagnetic pulses, combined with streams of metallic particles. The station's advanced shields, designed to stop energy weapons and missiles, did nothing against these basic attacks. Within minutes, the mighty Council station hung powerless in space. Multiple distress calls going out. Peters reported. Council worlds are panicking. They never imagined this could happen. More Council ships began arriving through jump points, but they pulled up short when they saw their central hub disabled and Earth's fleet in control. Walker opened a general channel to all arriving vessels. This is Earth. Your Council tried to force us into submission. Instead, they taught us how vulnerable advanced technology can be. We now control your communication network. Stand down or face the consequences. One by one, the Council ships powered down their weapons on dozens of worlds. Council leaders watched in horror as their power crumbled. Message coming in, Peters announced. It's from the Council's home world. They're requesting to open diplomatic channels. Walker smiled. Tell them we'll meet them. But this time, we'll set the terms. Dr. Brown looked at her readings with satisfaction. Several Council member species are already declaring their independence. They're saying if Earth could break free, so can they. The age of Council dominance is over, Walker declared. It's time for a new galactic order, one based on respect, not force. He turned to his crew. Set course for the Council homeworld. It's time they learned what real civilization looks like. Earth's fleet moved out, no longer the primitive newcomers, but the force that had reshaped the galaxy's balance of power. The Council's mistake had been thinking technology alone made a species advanced. Earth had proved that innovation, determination, and remembering the basics were far more important. The tables hadn't just turned. They had been completely flipped over. 1 month after Earth's fleet took control of the Council's communication hub, Ambassador Thomas Reed stood in the Grand Council chamber on their home world. The same room where countless species had been forced to submit to Council rule now witnessed something entirely different. The chamber was packed with representatives from over 200 worlds. The Council leaders, once proud and dismissive, now sat quietly in their seats. Their elegant silver robes no longer seemed impressive, just flashy decoration. Reed stepped up to the speaker's platform. Behind him, Admiral Walker and Dr. Brown stood proudly. Through the chamber's massive windows, Earth's hybrid ships could be seen patrolling the space around the Council city. 3 months ago, Reed began, his voice carrying through the vast chamber. Your fleet arrived at Earth. You called us primitive. You demanded our submission. You killed 300 of our people on Mars to prove your power. The Council leaders lowered their eyes. Their supreme commander, who had once threatened Earth with destruction, now looked old and tired. Today, Reed continued, we're here to establish a new order. Not one based on force or technological superiority, but on mutual respect and cooperation. Dr. Brown stepped forward with a data device. On the chamber's main screen, she displayed the new treaty Earth had prepared. First, Reed announced, all Council worlds will have the right to self-governance. No more protectorates. No more forced submission. A cheer went up from many of the alien representatives. Several species had already declared their independence after seeing Earth's victory. Second, technology will be shared freely between willing partners. No more keeping advanced technology as a weapon of control. The Supreme Commander stood up. But our technology is superior. These changes will destroy thousands of years of order. Admiral Walker spoke for the first time. Your technology wasn't superior. It was just different. Look at our ships. They combine your advanced drives with our reliable systems. Together, they're better than either alone. Reed nodded. That's the point of the new galactic alliance we're proposing. Every species brings their own strengths. We learn from each other. We grow together. Dr. Brown displayed more images on the screen. Earth's hybrid ships, new medical technologies combining Council and human approaches, improved communication systems that were both advanced and secure. Third, Reed continued, military force will only be used for defense. A joint fleet, with ships and crews from all member worlds, will protect trade routes and respond to natural disasters. More cheers filled the chamber. Many worlds had suffered under the Council's military domination. The idea of a defensive alliance, rather than an empire, appealed to them. Finally, Reed said, Earth will join the alliance as an equal member. Not superior, not inferior. Equal. The Supreme Commander looked around the chamber, seeing the enthusiasm in the other representatives' faces. And if we refuse these terms? Walker stepped forward. Then Earth and our allies will leave you behind. Already, 40 major worlds have signed trade agreements with us. They prefer our approach of cooperation over domination. The chamber erupted in discussion. Species that had been enemies under Council rule were talking, finding common ground. The Council leaders whispered among themselves, realizing their old order was finished. After an hour of debate, the vote was taken. The new Galactic Alliance was approved by an overwhelming majority. The age of Council dominance was officially over. As the session ended, Reed met with reporters from various worlds. One asked him the question everyone wanted answered. How did Earth manage this revolution in just 3 months? Reed smiled. Because we remembered something the Council forgot. True strength isn't about having the most advanced technology. It's about innovation, adaptation, and working together. The Council thought they were superior because they had the fanciest toys. We proved that creativity and determination matter more. Later, on the Retribution's observation deck, Walker, Reed, and Dr. Brown watched the sun set over the Council world. Was this your plan all along? Dr. Brown asked. Not just defeating them, but changing the whole galaxy. Honestly, Reed replied, we just wanted to protect Earth. But once we saw how many other worlds suffered under Council rule, we knew we had to do more. Walker nodded. And now the real work begins, building something better than what we destroyed. Below them, the Council city's lights began to shine. But they no longer represented oppression and arrogance. Now they were just one set of lights among many in a galaxy learning to work together. Earth had not just survived. It had changed the course of galactic history.